Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I'm here to give you 20 ideas on how to use the Erin Condren productivity layout. If you are new to Erin Condren or you don't know what I'm talking about, this layout has actually been around for a while, and they call it the productivity layout. It's got lines on one side, like half, 2/3 lines on the other, and then a checklist section on the right side. They've actually had this style of layout in their coiled notebooks for a very long time. And that notebook comes in two sizes, both in the 7x9 size, that's like their life planner, and then as well as an 8.5x11 size. More recently though, they have released these petite journals with the same productivity layout. There was one in the spring seasonal surprise box that was exclusive with the exclusive cover, and then they just released one with the new Wonder Woman collection with this cover. For now, this is the only one that you can get in the shop with this layout, is this Wonder Woman cover. Hopefully there will be more coming in the future, but for now this is all you can get. But since so many people got it in their surprise box and are excited about this Wonder Woman one, somebody asked me in the comments if I would do a video sharing ideas on how to use this journal. What are some ways that you can use it? I mentioned a couple when I unboxed both the surprise box and this collection, but I thought I would do a video sharing 20 ideas on how to use this layout. Some of these I came up with myself, and some of them I asked for some friends for their insight, some of my creative Erin Condren loving friends, and I will make sure to give them credit on those ideas when I get to them. So let's just start flipping. The first idea is to use this as a daily planner. So you have lots of line space that you could add to-do list, shopping, ideas, notes from the day. Truthfully, if I was using it, I would probably put my to-do list on this side. A lot of time for me when I have to-do lists, I end up with little mini lists that are sub parts of my to-do list, like if I'm filming a certain number of videos or if I'm going to the drugstore and I need to get a couple things. So I would probably put my main to-dos over here and then like my little mini to-do list or my mini shopping lists on this side. And then over here on the checklist, I would actually make this an hourly breakdown. I started this at 6. I don't know why I started at 6. I would probably not do 6 to 6. You could start at whatever time you wanted and have it go all the way down. You could break it up. Like if I was using this for a normal day, I could do like 6 to 9 and then jump to 5 p.m. when I'm done with work and do, 5 to 10 p.m. or whatever it is. And there are 40 of these layouts that are part of this journal, this size journal. So it would last you, a month and a little bit into the next month. All right, the next idea I had would be to use it as a journal. So in all of this blank space, you could do prompts, you could do morning pages, you could do just brain dumps, you could do documenting journal, like here's what happened today. And then over here on this checklist side, you could do things that you're thankful for and list out, things that you're thankful for. And you could take up more than one line, like you wouldn't have to do just 2 lines. You also don't have to fill up all of the space, but that could be a fun way to use this. This is the way I'm thinking of using it for this crazy time that we're in right now. And then my friend Jen McIntosh also said that she uses it for a journal, but what she does with this sidebar is a little bit different, and she uses it to pull out actions from her journaling. So she'll let herself just journal and fill it out and fill up the space and then kind of pull out the things that stood out from her journaling that she wants to then transfer to her planner. All right, the next idea I had was to use this as a meal planner. So on the line space on the side, you could put the inventory that you have to use up. You could plan it by day. Like in this space right here, you could plan, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so on, and plan what you're going to have for dinner. If you need a little bit more space, maybe you want to plan lunch and dinner. That's kind of how I would probably attack it, is I would put lunch and then dinner and then Monday through Sunday down the bottom. You could add notes, like I really liked this recipe, or I wish I'd added more of this or more of that, from what you're eating. And then the checklist section, you could either do a grocery list of things that you need to buy, or you could put the inventory here and put things that you need to make sure that you use up this week. Continuing with the food theme, you could also use this as a recipe notebook. Both my friend Jen McIntosh and my friend Casey mentioned that this is how they would use this or have used it in the past. So on this side, you would put all the steps of the recipe. And you might be thinking, why am I going to recopy a recipe when I could just have, a hard copy from a cookbook or print it off the internet? Sometimes you want to be able to make it your own. So you want to be able to add, little notes or things that you do differently in the recipe than the one that you printed from the internet. It's also kind of nice to have it handwritten. Like imagine passing this down to somebody in the future. So that's pretty cool. You could also include photos of the recipe, like of your actual version of it, not the pretty perfect ones from the internet. And then I also thought you could do like a last time I made it. I was thinking that would be good for this section, is put like, oh, I made this 2 weeks ago, or I made it last week, and then you can kind of skip over that when you're going through meal planning. And then on the checklist side, you would put the ingredients that you need for that recipe. The next one, more food themed, is using this as actually a food tracker. So if you're going to be tracking your food, but giving you a little bit more space than some of the other food trackers that I've seen. So you could do breakfast, lunch, and dinner and track it that way. You could do calories or macros, depending on how you're tracking. You could do both. You could do like the actual food on one side and then the calories or the macros on the other. On the checklist side, I had a couple ideas. You could either do what you're planning to eat and then check it off as you track it. You could do what you actually ate and just kind of list it out and the checklist, or you could do the times that you're eating, and that way you could kind of see over time what times you are tending to get hungry and what times you are finding yourself eating. The next idea I had for this journal would be to use it as an exercise notebook and actually write down the movements that you're doing for your exercise and times. This would be really good for somebody who does their own types of workouts. I'm more of a class person. I've never been the kind of person that's like got a workout routine where I rotate through certain movements and I try and do the same movements consistently over a period of time. I've always wanted to be one of those people. And that way you could track what weights you're using. Because sometimes when I'm doing a workout class and they're like, do this thing, I have no idea what weights I should be grabbing. So being able to track over time, what weights you're doing. The next idea that I had, and my friend Jen said that she also finds herself doing, is using this for work meetings. I think if they come out with one that's a little bit, maybe more of a neutral cover, I will use this for work meetings. And so on this side, I would just put all the notes that I'm taking in the meetings. I'm not the kind of person that takes my laptop to meetings. I always take a notepad anyway. And then I like the idea of the checklist section being all the actions that come out of the meeting. Sometimes there's nothing. Sometimes this would probably be totally blank. Sometimes the things that pop up into my head of things I need to do during a meeting have nothing to do with the meeting, but that's okay. I still need to make sure when I get back to my desk that I transfer them from the actions to my actual work planner, my work to-do list. So I kind of like having that separate space. All right, the next idea came from my friend Naomi, and she travels a lot for business and said that the layout works really well for that. You would have like a layout for each trip. So on this side, you would have all your hotel info, your flight info, maybe anything special that you need to pack for that trip, etc. And then on this side, you would put all of your business expenses. So you could either check it when you submit it. So when I travel for business, I don't spend my own money and get reimbursed. I'm actually just using a corporate card, but I have to submit all of my expenses into the system. So I would write them out as they happen, right? Like lunch with blah, 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 whatever all the expenses were. And then I would check it off when I submitted it in the system. Or if you are on a reimbursement system, you could check it off when you get reimbursed. She also mentioned it would be really cool if there was a pocket, which unfortunately these journals do not come with a pocket. But you could add one of those sticky pockets that Erin Condren has on their website and then put your receipts in that sticky pocket. Continuing with the money theme, you could also use this for finances. So I have said this a million times. I am not a paper budgeter. I like to budget in a spreadsheet. That's just who I am. But if you are a paper budgeter, and a lot of people use the Erin Condren Deluxe Monthly, but maybe that seems a little bit overwhelming. This is a little bit smaller and might be a little bit more manageable. So you could use each layout either for each week, which would be kind of a bummer because you would run out of pages. You wouldn't make it through a whole year. Or you could do one for each month, or you could maybe even split the month and do like half on one and half on the other. It kind of depends on how many expenses you have and how much you're tracking. The way that I was thinking, I would use this side to sort of track my spending. So I spent this much at this store and just kind of, write it in. That's the reason I like Excel, because it adds it all up for me. And then on this side, I would do running totals, so my checking account, my savings account, if you're trying to pay off debt, etc. on this side. And then on the checklist section, you could do the dated expenses and then check them off when you've paid. So on the first of the month, I pay rent for this amount, check it off. My phone bill, check it off when you've actually paid those various expenses. All right, the next idea I had was to use this for blogging or for YouTube videos. And so I would use the line space as sort of my video notes or video outline. So for a video like this, the outline is kind of just flipping through this, but for some videos, I do have a pretty detailed outline and I could write that all here. And then on the checklist section, I could list out all the things that I do for every single video. So there's a lot more than this. I just wanted to give you an idea of what this looked like, but like film, edit, upload, thumbnail, all the things that I do for every single video. Currently, I'm not actually tracking that in any system, but you could have them all listed out and then make sure that, you check it off as you do it. And that you could do the same thing for blogs or an Instagram post post or anything sort of social media content related. The next idea I have, which I really like, and I hope that they come out with more covers so that I can order more of these, because I think that this would be a great use for like my next big trip, or even trips, because there's 40 pages. I'm not going on a 40-day trip. So on this side, I would use this to sort of journal, like what are we doing? How are things going? And then I would add in pictures. You could use this space to kind of mark the reservations that you have. And then on this side, which is the part that I think is kind of cool, is just mapping out what your day looked like. So at this time, we went and had breakfast here. At this time, we went and did a tour of this. And not putting it in advance, because there's something to be said for leaving that spontaneity when it comes to travel, but documenting it as you go. That way you remember like, oh, on this date, we went and had lunch at this one restaurant. And it's kind of nice to be able to go and look back on. So I really kind of like that idea. I was using the travel journal from Erin Condren, which I do like, but the flexibility really is pulling at me for maybe our next like big international trip. The next idea I had was to use this as a bucket list. So on the checklist up here, I would put the type of bucket list. So either this is my spring bucket list, or this is my New York City bucket list. These are things I want to do alone, or things we want to do as a couple or as a family. And you could have a whole book of different types of bucket lists. And then on this side, obviously you check them off as you do them. And then on this side, you would put memories, photos of the things that you did, just little, commentary or whatever to kind of go with the list that's on the side. I think that's a really cool idea. You could also just do seasonal and have it be multiple years. So you could do 2020, spring, summer, fall, winter, and then 21. And then that would actually last you like 10 years, which is a lot. But it's kind of a cool idea. The next idea I had was to use this for movies and TV shows that you wanted to watch. So over here, you could either do the season. So if you're doing, like, this would be season 1 of Game of Thrones, right? And you would list the 10 episodes that are part of season 1 and then check them off as you watch them. Or you could do the genre. Like right now, I'm trying to watch all the Marvel movies, right? So I could list all the Marvel movies and check them off as I watch them. And then on this side, you could put quotes that you really liked from the episodes or from the movie, or ideas. If you're anything like me, I get like random ideas that pop into my head while I'm watching movies or TV shows, or just like notes on the characters. If you guys follow my friend Nina on Instagram, a while back, she was watching Game of Thrones for the first time, and she actually had a notebook where she kept track of all the characters, because it's hard to keep up with that show. By the way, I'm interrupting to let you know, I used a Papermate flare, and it shadows a little bit, like you can see through, but you have to be careful, because when you're writing on the colored part, it doesn't dry super fast, and you can see that it kind of rubbed off a little bit when I turn the page. So just keep that in mind. So my next idea is to use it for books, and it has kind of the same concept as the movies or TV. So over here, you could either list the chapters of the book and check them off as you go, or a series that you're watching, or I've broken up my books into categories by my goals. So this could be like all my physical health books, and I could list them out. And then over here, kind of the same thing. I would list out quotes that stood out to me from the book, or ideas. My only holdback on this idea is I don't know if that's enough space if I did a genre. I have a book notebook now that it's usually like 3 to 4 pages of notes for each book. So I don't know. I'm not sure if that would totally work for me, but if you're somebody who doesn't take a ton of notes after reading books, it might work for you. The next one, which also came from my friend Naomi, was talking about video games. So if you are a video game person, which I, much to my fiance's dismay, am not, but on this side, you could put notes from the game session that you had, people that you played with, things that you want to remember. And then she was saying over here, you could put your inventory in the checklist section. The next idea I had, which is also somebody I aspire to be, but I'm not currently, and that is a plant or a garden person. So you could have a page either for each season or maybe for each plant, and have like all of the information, how much sunlight is it supposed to get, how much water is it supposed to get, etc., all the information. You could also put photos here, I guess, of your plants and the progress. And then I was thinking on the checklist side, you could either do the last time you watered it and just kind of list them out, or you could do notes by date. So like, okay, on this date, I saw this little spud or bud or whatever. I don't know the plant terms. And then on this date, this happened, and kind of track the plant by time. All right, the next idea also came from my friend Jen McIntosh, and she said that she uses one of these productivity journals as a homeschooling journal. So she'll use this layout to talk about notes, progress, challenges, different things related. She has homeschooled all 5 of her kids, and then she'll put the milestones that they hit as they're going through the homeschool process. The next idea I had was to use this as a spiritual journal. So similar to the journaling ideas we talked about before, but focusing on spiritual related things. So whether you're working through a Bible study, or you have a small group, or you're going to church, or you could take this space to copy scripture down. Cultivate What Matters has a journal dedicated specifically to that. It's called Write the Word, where it gives you a scripture and you're supposed to just copy it down. But if you have one of these notebooks already, you could use the space to do that. And then on this side, I was thinking it would be really cool to have a prayer list. So you could either list things in advance and then check it off when you pray, or just write them down and don't worry about checking it off. Right. And then the very last idea I had was to use this as gift ideas. This is something I'm always trying to figure out how to document. I have 8 siblings and lots of people that I buy gifts for. And so I was thinking it would be cool where each page, so you have basically 40 people, is a person. And then in the notes section, you could put the things that they love. What is their favorite color? What is their favorite candy? And then ideas, like when things pop up. I randomly all the time have random ideas for my siblings. What are they interested in? And that's going to change over time. Definitely going to have to cross some out as time goes on. And then what I really like is on the checklist side is to track the actual gifts that I've given them so I don't repeat them, or I can always build off of them as sort of a jumping off point for ideas. So I was pretending this was my brother. And so I was like, okay, well, for his 11th birthday, I got him this. And then for that Christmas following, I got him this. And then his 12th birthday. And then I would track it and be able to keep up with all of these ideas. So those are my 20 ideas on how to use the Erin Condren productivity layout. Again, this comes in both the petite journal size with currently just this Wonder Woman cover and the coiled version. I will link all of that below if you are interested. Let me know down in the comments, is there anything that you use this layout for, or an additional idea or a tweak with one of the ideas that I talked about in this video? Let us know down in the comment. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you so much for watching. Happy planning. And then the section, 2019 spring, summer, winter, fall. That's the wrong order. I don't know why I just said 2019. 2019's over. Math is hard.